just a Northern Michigan
No.
per se issue. I mean, that's what we always heard. It was Northern Michigan legislators pushing for this mandated start date.
Right.
And it really was across the state.
It was across the state, and I think that even the kind of cool thing about that is that it's possible. I think that if you asked some of the tourism people in the Detroit area, do you think this is going to help you as much as some of the Northern Michigan resorts? They would tell you honestly, no. But they said, but we're in it because it's good for the state's tourism industry. So even if they don't see as much benefit in the urban areas, they were willing to be supportive of it and help get it done, and they did.
Okay. What other types of legislation are important for tourism?
Well, I think that
that we might see or hear a little bit about.
there's some talk right now about, are there ways to develop incentives? We're part of the MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and what we do in our other parts of the business are help companies with, and sometimes that involves incentives, community development, block grant money, whatever it might be, to get a company to expand or locate in Michigan. The question is, are there some incentives that would help the tourism industry grow as well? Should we have those same kind of incentives if someone wants to build a new attraction of some kind, a new resort? Should we encourage that somehow through the government? And right now, most of the tourism businesses don't qualify for much of that.
Right.
So that's one thing that we're looking at right now is, should there be that same
do
kind of...
other states do that?
Some of them do, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And you said you worked in another state.
I did, yeah.
What's different from Ohio versus Michigan?
Well...
other than the unique natural resources.
Well, yeah, the short answer is a much better product.
Okay.
I mean, and that's the truth.
But did they have incentives? Did they have...
they did not have incentives,
Did they
no.
do the post-Labor Day start?
They did not. In fact, they're looking at it after we passed it here.
Other states do the post-Labor Day start?
A couple have, but I think that every time it happens somewhere, then a bunch of other states start working on it.
Okay.
Because almost every state would benefit from it.
Would you say Michigan's kind of a leader in trying to find some of those ways to bring people to their state?
I think so. I mean, I think that
it's not all about dollars.
No,
obviously, dollars are important.
Absolutely. No, it's not about dollars. That's right. And I think that the other thing is, I think another thing we're doing well as an industry and working with the industry is the partnerships. I mean, we have, in this year, in 2007, with just the Travel Michigan Promotion Program, we have $1 million of private sector money that's being matched with us. So we've gone to convention and visitor bureaus and to attractions around the state and said, hey, instead of you advertising in Chicago and then us advertising in Chicago, why don't we put our money together and both advertise in one campaign in Chicago? And we're doing that we have 28 different partnerships with about 50 different entities, because some of them involve more than one entity per partnership, where they have put up $1 million of their money. And I always tell my staff, I say, that is our private sector voting with their dollars, because they're not putting $1 million of their marketing money on the table to market with us and be part of the Pure Michigan campaign to do us a favor. I mean, if this does not work for them, they won't be back.
Right.
I mean, these are businesses and convention bureaus who have got to show results. And so, fortunately, every year we've done this program, it's gotten bigger. We started with just 3 partnerships 5 years ago, and now we have 28, and now we're at $1 million.
So some real successes. Post-Labor Day start, that helped out a lot. This 21st Jobs Century Dollar.
Absolutely.
That was helpful for promoting.
Yep.
You're looking at some possible incentives to help some of these resorts. And I've heard that too.
Yep.
All manufacturers getting incentives. But
Right.
I mean, here, what is tourism in the state? Is that in terms of dollars to the state treasury?
$1 billion.
$1 billion, easy.
Yeah.
Easy billion,
$1
if not more.
Yeah.
Okay, especially when we have jobs leaving the states, it's
Absolutely.
probably a really good way to bring dollars here. What are some other kind of legislative maybe priorities that Travel Michigan thinks would be very important for the state?
Well, I think some of it's just, it's to the point you just made, I think that part of it is just recognizing that tourism is an important industry for the state. And so kind of no matter what the issue is, whether it's roads or DNR or DEQ issues, that tourism ought to be in the mix. And one of the reasons that I think that's particularly important now is, as you just mentioned, other industries losing jobs, going away. The thing about tourism jobs is you can't, Michigan tourism job will never be outsourced.
Well, the resource hopefully will always be here too.
Right, but my point is, as long as there are visitors coming and spending their money, there'll be jobs for people to own hotels, own restaurants, manage hotels, work at all of that. From the top level jobs to the entry level jobs. But those jobs can never be shifted somewhere else as long as there's demand. And that's why the promotion part of it is so important. As long as there's demand for Michigan as a destination, the jobs will always be there, the taxes will always be paid in the treasury, And so that's why, we tend to focus on the marketing promotion side because, again, it's not that some states, a long time ago, probably 15 years ago, Alabama decided they didn't have enough tourism product. And they actually used some state retirement funds to build a bunch of golf courses. They just didn't have very good product. They didn't really have anything to offer visitors, and they weren't getting very many visitors. Now, we don't have that problem. Take a look at the state. Take a look at our Travel Ideas magazine. Go to Michigan.org, our website, and look at all the imagery and stuff. We certainly don't lack for product.
We just have to get the message out.
Got to get the message out. Yeah. Exactly right. And I think so we're in a different place in that respect than another state, and certainly different from Ohio in that respect. Yeah. Ohio does not have the same kind of product.
And people still think of the state of Michigan as a rust belt, and that doesn't have real good feelings when you're talking about where you're going to go for vacation. So,
and I think that
getting that message out about our natural resources is really important.
Absolutely, and and that's another great point, because if every day what somebody in Chicago or in Cleveland or in Dallas or in Atlanta reads about Michigan is a headline, Dateline Detroit, another closing, another trouble with the big three, whatever it is. I mean, some negative thing about the economy. Their mental image of what we are as a state, if it's based on those headlines, that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing for the state, for tourism, and it's bad for the state's business development.
That's why the dollars to promote Michigan is so important.
Absolutely.
That advertisement and things, billboards,
Correct.
Obviously. I've recently, traveled through Wisconsin and Chicago up through Michigan, and I saw some of that stuff.
Yep.
Some of the billboards. Well, you mentioned a few things like, our natural resources, hiking and biking and camping and all those wine tasting. I mean, the whole wine industry is a brand new tourist kind of
Absolutely.
thing. Are you highlighting any of those cider mills,
Absolutely.
things like that?
Absolutely, and things like the wine trails that are going on, in northern Michigan and southwest Michigan, now even in southeast Michigan there's a wine trail. So I mean, we're seeing certainly new segments like that emerge and blossom. No pun intended with the blossom reference, but it's a great thing. But again, those are experiences that we can offer in a special way.
Sure.
And we've just got to get the word out. We've got to get travel writers to come in and write about them, and that's part of what we do.
Okay.
We host travel writers all the time. I had 4 German travel writers in here 3 weeks ago. I've got some more Germans coming back to tour the state. And we're never going to buy advertising in Germany. I mean, but if I can get some writers to come in here and for almost no cost to us, experience our product and go back and write some great stories.
Oh yeah,
that's a very cost-effective way. In fact, we've got a big group of American writers that'll be here in the first week of June. Probably be hosting 25 writers from
all over the United States.
All over the U.S.
Okay, and all kinds of newspapers, I assume.
Newspapers, magazines, some broadcast, but usually print.
Boy, how do you pick where they go? There's so much to offer.
Well, we typically we do a couple of these trips a year, and we spread it out all over the state. So we can't do the whole state in every trip. So we'll pick a section and say, okay, this is going to be our spring trip for '07. This will be our fall trip for '07. And the next year we'll go to the UP, and the next year we'll go somewhere else.
Okay.
So.
Well, great. Well, you mentioned your website, and that is again
Michigan.org.
Michigan.org.
Glad to mention it often.
Okay.
Yes.
Any 1-800 numbers that you have?
We do have an 800 number, which is 888. It's actually 888-78-GREAT.
Okay.
So that's fairly easy to remember also, 888-78-GREAT. But we find really Michigan.org, the website is where we...
A lot of hits to the website.
Yeah, we had 10 million user sessions last year.
Oh my.
And it was up almost 50% from the year before. So we're still growing at those kind of rates. And in fact, we just started buying I mentioned research, we started buying some data that shows how Michigan.org compares to other state tourism websites. And we just started this year in '07, and we've been either second or third most visited website every month this year of all the 50 states.
Okay.
So.
Well, before we end, any key messages you want to leave with the viewers?
Don't let gas prices scare you off. I mean, what I would recommend is go to Michigan.org, plan a great Michigan trip, and don't go out of state.
Yes. Well, thanks so much, George, for coming today and participating in this cable show. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Water. We take our showers with it. We make our coffee with it. But we rarely tap its true potential and just let it be itself. Flowing freely into clean lakes, clear streams, and along more freshwater coastline than any other state in the country. Come realize water's true potential. Dive in to the waters of pure Michigan. Your trip begins at Michigan.org.